Hello and welcome to OurTime. The Adelaide Fringe has started to happen. People are already registering their venues, performers are already registering their shows, and the man who's behind having to sort everybody out is Aaron Finan, who joins us on OurTime this time. Aaron, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Must be a nightmare trying to solve everybody's problems, where I want to go to perform, who's going to come and perform at my venue, all of that you've got to handle. And also the magazine, the Fringe Works magazine, and all that online stuff. Am I frightening you?
Not at all. No, we've got a really good team, the artist and venue team, that sort all of those different things. You know, I'm just one small part of the machine that is Adelaide Fringe, and that's what we're there for, solving those problems.
See, a lot of people don't realise, if you haven't heard this before, and we've spouted it constantly, the Adelaide Fringe is the second largest fringe in the world, next to Edinburgh, in Scotland of course, and it really makes South Australia the arts capital of Australia. Because there's more people that see the Fringe, I think, than most other shows throughout Australia during the year, including sport, which is interesting.
This year we sold 1 million tickets in 2023, which is a pretty huge milestone.
So it's a pretty important event in South Australia's usual calendar that isn't sport and isn't a car race.
Yeah, that's true. I think it is sort of the time of year when the whole city, the whole state comes alive, because, you know, Adelaide Fringe isn't just the city as well, it is all
and
South
that's a really
Australia.
important point to make, isn't it? That a lot of people think the Fringe is just Gluttony or the Garden in the city or a few other city venues, but in fact it's statewide, particularly now because more shows are going out into the country centres.
Yeah, we even had 100 regional venues this year, so it's growing and growing every year and going further and wider.
There probably won't be a reason to change the name, but it's not really just the Adelaide Fringe anymore, it's really the South Australian Fringe.
Yeah, it's the Adelaide Fringe, but it goes further than that.
Yeah, it goes further, because there's a post-fringe and a bit of a pre-fringe as well for performers. So, how does all this work? So you sit in an office taking phone calls, emails or whatever all day, or are you out and about doing stuff?
A bit of both. So a lot of the time is in the office, answering the phone, replying to emails, supporting artists and venues all around the world. And we also try and get out and do info sessions around the state. So we've done some in regional places, we've done some in Adelaide, we've done some online as well. We also try and get out and look at venues, if any venues need support with their registration or what they could do.
Or general assistance, because for a new venue it can be pretty daunting, I guess. What do I need? Do I need a bar? Do I need a lot of lights? Do I need something out the front? What do I need?
Yeah, we can answer all of those questions and more, and it really can start from as small as you want to as big as you want.
And this is a free service, isn't it, basically?
Yeah, so for venues, registration is free, and then artists, it does cost to register an event, a small amount, and you get...
But not the venue?
Not the venue.
No.
Yeah, and then we're there to support both sides all year round.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about you though. Why are you involved in the Fringe? How did you start your career?
Sure, so about 10 years ago now, I did sound and lighting tech for an Adelaide Fringe show called As the Penny Drops with a little company called Damn It Leanne, who was at Shots Bar. And the following year, I managed to make myself a key enough individual to the show that they put me in the show. And we did a parody of Law and Order called Law and Disorder.
Right.
And the following year after that, I helped write the show and produce the show, and it kept on going from there. And now the last 3 years, I've been co-writing and co-producing a show called Lost in Translation, starring.
And that's been showing at Adelaide's premier comedy club.
Yeah, we've been at Rhino Room for the last 3 years. Really lucky.
Is that hard, balancing both things, or is the writing sort of the hobby, the escape when you're not doing the other thing?
With like my day job and...
Yes.
I've only recently started at Adelaide Fringe in the last couple of months.
Because before you were at Carclew, weren't you?
Yes, Carclew.
What were you doing at Carclew?
So I was a digital marketer.
Right.
So...
And that's pretty important now with things like the Fringe, isn't it? The digital marketing just across the board. It's really how most people are finding out, apart from the magazine.
Yeah, it's a huge part of what we're doing.
Do you find, though, with people providing you with information for all the digital platforms that exist, difficult because a lot of the shows don't exist yet?
Yeah, that's definitely...
So advice, we need advice, Aaron.
I think a big piece of advice that I would give to anyone wanting to register an event is to really think through how you would pitch that to someone, and to try and get as close an idea as to what it's going to be before you register it as possible.
Well, who's the market? It's important.
Yeah, and who's it for?
Do they want to see it, I suppose?
Yeah, do they want to see it? How are you going to find that audience? And most importantly, why this show and why now?
Yeah. And what's interesting is the Fringe have a lot of workshop situations that can help you with those decisions.
Yeah, we run a monthly professional development series, so we've always got stuff coming out to help support people.
Now, is that something difficult to find? Where would I find information about all these things?
So we have a platform called AVR, which is our artist and venue registration platform.
I never knew that's what it stands for.
So that's at avr.adelaidefringe.com.au, and we have a resource library on there that has all of the professional development series as well as a bunch of other resources to help anyone.
Well, recently I did a bit of a chat, a YouTube chat, not a YouTube chat, a Zoom chat with you guys. What was the purpose of that?
So that was a chat about regional touring from a producer's perspective, and so it was to kind of give people an idea what they could do with their show and how they could take it outside of the CBD and on the road as part of Adelaide Fringe. Because
that's pretty daunting, knowing that it's going to cost me quite a bit of money. I've got to look after the performers. They've got to sleep somewhere. They've got to get somewhere. And then I've got to pay for the theatre to be in, or the town hall, or the local club, or whatever, because that's a good thing about the Fringe. It doesn't have to be in major, what I call hard top venues.
Yeah, it can be anywhere, and it is a huge undertaking touring regionally, which is why we're here to give advice on the best way to go about doing that. Okay, so you're performing as well as writing, and you're doing this specific job. So you really have, I guess, a bird's eye view of how this whole system works. For people who are just sort of coming into this field, what do you think's the most important, apart from what we just said about, knowing your market and really pre-planning? What else do people really need? Is it in the photographs? Is it in chats to Facebook and Instagram? What is it? I think a great name for a show goes a really long way, and some great clear artwork. I think they're the two most important things, because when someone's going through the Fringe guide or they're looking on the website to buy tickets, they're the two things that people are judging you on first and foremost. They certainly are, yes. You really need something that's going to pop out at you, don't you? Yeah. Because in the Fringe magazine, which is called... The Fringe Guide. The Fringe Guide. Yeah, I knew it wasn't Fringe magazine. That goes out to houses all over the place, and you can get them through supermarkets. Yeah. Yeah. So they're free. Yep. And they're basically paid for by the people who are doing the shows. So everyone's got a little ad, basically, under headings. What are the headings? So the heading is broken up into different categories. Yeah. So there's show comedy, cabaret, circus. Eat and drink is one of our newer categories. Yep. Just explain what that is. So eat and drink is, say you're a venue and you've got a chef that's really good. You could put on an eat and drink event where you do a wine tasting and a meal, like a meal. So it'd be sort of a show with a meal, but not a show in a show sense. Yeah. A preparation show. But you can also do, people do murder mystery dinners and things like that as well. Yep. More interactive things. Right. Ah, that's interesting. Interactive is another one of the categories. Interactive, okay. And some of the venues are quite unusual. Yeah. What's the most unusual you've come across? Ooh. I mean, there were people doing stuff in containers at one point. Is that still happening? I'm not sure about next year. There's been all sorts of things. In the past years, though? There's been, I think one year there was an empty pool. Oh, okay. I think, but don't quote me on that. Okay. An empty pool's interesting. Well, good, because you have a rake in that, so you can perform down the deep end. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so with the Fringe, it's also about people buying tickets, because it doesn't work unless that happens. What advice would you give to the audiences that are... I've noticed over the last few years here in Adelaide, the demographic has changed dramatically in people coming to see the Fringe. Older people who would not have normally gone to the Fringe because they wouldn't take the risk,
because I don't know what I'm going to see. It could be weird. I've noticed that a lot of older people are now starting to go out and actually do the fringe runaround. What do you think's changed that? What's made older people start to pick it up, do you think?
I think it's just growing in general. I think all demographics are starting to take a chance on things. It's growing and growing year on year, and there's still so much room for it to grow.
Is it because there's more diversity, do you think? A lot of professional work as well?
Yeah, possibly. There's bigger acts coming as the festival gets bigger, so that might pull out people that otherwise wouldn't. And then once they're out, they'll go see 4 more shows as well.
Yes, and that's the good thing, and that's what works for the Fringe. Most shows are usually around about an hour in duration.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of just getting out. We're going to talk about the pricing after this very brief commercial break. Our special guest in this program is Aaron Finan, who is from, what's your official title at the Adelaide Fringe?
I'm an artist and venue coordinator.
Fabulous. And how many artists and venues will you be coordinating, Aaron?
Well, partially all of them.
And how many were there this year?
There were 1,300 plus shows, and I think there were, I can't remember off the top of my head, there were more than 600 venues.
Yes. Then you'll be a tad busy, I suspect.
Yes.
And it's particularly right this minute. Okay, so not everybody knows how the Fringe began, and we were just talking about that because the Fringe was 60 the year before last, I think. Frank Ford started the Fringe as a sideline to the Adelaide Festival of Arts, which the Festival Theatre in Adelaide was built for, if you were around then, because I was. And it really began in sort of little pokey places that were not necessarily established theatre venues. It's grown so much since then. The Garden, Gluttony have come into the picture. People have often said, it's all become so expensive. How would you comment on that?
Well, the average ticket price now for last year was $35, which is the same the year before, and then the same as 2 years before that. It dipped down because of COVID to $30, but it's back up to $35.
So there are some shows that are obviously more than that, but they would be either professional touring shows that have got venues to pay for, performers to pay and so on, down to local companies having a go.
Absolutely.
Is that the important thing about a Fringe, that local companies can have a go?
Well, it's a bit of an everything festival. It's open access, and that's what it means. It is open to everyone. If you can find a venue, you can put on a show. And that's what makes it so great.
So what do I do? How do I make it happen?
Well, you've got a few different options. If you already have a relationship with a venue, you can go straight to them and ask them if you can put on a show at their venue. And even if they don't normally register as a Fringe venue, it's free for them to register. So you can convince them to do that, or you can...
And you've already run a workshop for people that are interested in doing that.
Yeah, and they can find that workshop recorded online at avr.adelaidefringe.com.au.
You are, yes.
You can also hop on that website as well. We have a venue finder, so you can plug in the genre of show you want to do, the capacity of the room you're after, and find their contact details. There's lots of different ways.
Because you could actually do a show in a phone booth if they still existed.
Yeah. You can do a show anywhere.
Because I remember back in the early days of the Fringe, apart from some little pokey shops that weren't being used in Highley Street, there were operas created in quarries, shows on jetties. It's just so diverse. I mean, you can really open your mind to something that the thing I love about live shows, though, is you remember them forever. You really do. Because when you see real people doing something, it can be quite amazing and such a memorable experience. What do you remember from the Fringe scene over the years?
I think some of my fondest memories of when I was starting out as a performer was seeing Sound and Fury.
Yep.
They were fantastic. I think they really inspired me to start performing.
With the professional development, would you have gone through that sort of process? Did that help you, or were you sort of savvy enough to know where to go?
No, I attended some of the professional development sessions and have watched them online as well in the past before.
And now you've got a job?
Yeah.
How many people work at the Fringe? Have you got any idea? Like all year round?
All year round. I think there is about 35 to 40 year-round staff. And
so it's actually quite a small staff for such a big festival.
Yeah, it ramps up, obviously.
Yeah, sure. And you bring in extra staff. So again, if you're not a performer but you still want to be part of the whole thing, the excitement of it all, there's job opportunities?
Yeah, you can find, we're always looking for new
So
people.
there is a department for that you can register?
For sorry.
Yeah, for job opportunities, like to work for ticketing or to work for bars or to work in crowd control or whatever.
Yeah, we don't run any venues ourselves.
No.
So
Actually, that's a really important thing to say, because a lot of people don't realise that the Fringe is the overarching umbrella for everything, but you don't make the rain.
yeah, we provide a festival framework and a way for artists and venues to connect with each other and a way for them to sell tickets, but we don't run any venues. So we hire people in ticketing and in support roles.
So as time goes on, where do you feel your career is going to go? Would you end up moving Fringes around the world? Because the world's full of them now.
Well, I've just started at Adelaide, so let's stay there for a while
Started
first.
at second from the top. That's what it is, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Well, it's the top for me.
Yeah, well, pretty much, but certainly the top in Australia as well for what happens. So what is it you feel your career is moving towards? Are you going to continue to perform and write?
Yeah, I hope so. At the moment, it's really good getting to do both, performing and writing shows and producing, as well as supporting other artists and venues.
Because it gives you a better understanding of what the public want to see?
Yeah, and it's just that I have a lot of knowledge from my experience over the years, and being able to help other people learn is a good feeling.
I guess it is, but also to know that audiences are being engaged and there is really something to do in Adelaide City.
Yeah, well, there's always something to do in Adelaide.
Well,
You just have to look.
that's true. But when Fringe comes around, it really is a crazy time. Do you need a holiday afterwards? So you've only done 1 year in this position or two?
I've been with Adelaide Fringe for about 3 months.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, very new.
I thought you'd been around for a couple of years doing this.
No.
How amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, lucky you. So this year's going to be a true baptism of fire.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. I know I'll be talking to you again about this at some point. But I'm really impressed because I'm a participant in the Fringe, both as a producer and as a venue. And I'm really impressed with what the Fringe has actually got out there offering all of us, whether we're performers or producers or venue managers. And it is worthwhile making the point that this is a very special thing. I know Melbourne has a Fringe in October, but the Adelaide Fringe is a different type of Fringe to what Melbourne has to offer, because we have big shows in big theatres and little shows in little spaces, as we said before. Well, sit there for 1 minute more and we'll be back in a tick with a little bit more from Aaron. Aaron, from the Adelaide Fringe, you're in professional development and venues and...
Art in the artist and venue team. So
This is a test, Aaron.
I run the professional...
You've been there for you've actually been there for what, 4.5 months or something now?
Yeah.
So there must have been so much to catch up on.
Yeah, so I help run the professional development series, everything AVR. I'm in the back end of that.
And AVR stands for?
The Artist and Venue Registration Platform.
There you go.
The artist magazines and venue magazines, I play a hand in that, and any other events.
And 1,000 emails of information that goes out to venues and artists.
Absolutely.
Okay, big question. So when is the Adelaide Fringe 2023?
It's on the 16th of February
That's
and it
when it
runs till
starts.
the 17th of March.
Right. And during that month of shows, at this point of time, you must be starting to get your head around just how many shows you've got to talk nice things to producers, to venues.
Yeah, it's going to be big, and yeah, we're there to support anyone.
Actually, the other thing that I find really interesting is where people come from, because it's not obviously just from Adelaide.
Yeah, we have people participating from all around the world.
Literally.
And people coming here to see Adelaide Fringe as go seeing shows from all around the world as well.
Yes, but also other producers who can take product they see here and basically play it somewhere else in the world.
Yeah, we have our Honeypot marketplace. So it's an arts marketplace for people looking to sell work and people looking to buy work.
And what basically happens is everybody's lined up who are producers or buyers, purchasers, and performers or producers get a chance to have a speed date.
Yeah, to network.
Basically, isn't it?
Pretty much, and sell themselves and their shows.
And you've got about 2 minutes to do that. So what you were saying before about being really clear about what your show is and what the market is, because if you don't know who you're doing it for, it's really a bit hard to pull an audience in.
Yeah, you've got to have a good elevator pitch ready to go.
One of the most interesting things I've heard experienced people say is if you don't know what the market is, you won't know how to sell, who you're doing it for. Because at the end of the day, all performances need to be for an audience and needs to be something an audience wants to see.
Yeah, I think it's not even to do with marketing the show. It can inform the show that you create as well. If you're saying, who is this show for, that's going to help you make decisions about what the show is.
Yeah, I understand that. The show that you started off writing and are still performing.
Lost in Translation.
Just explain what that show is.
So we take famous film scripts, we make them an hour long, and we run them back and forth between different languages using online translators, and then we put them back into English and read the scripts live on stage in character.
Okay. So do they make sense at all?
They do. The plot changes a little bit, but it does make sense.
Who's involved with this with you?
So Sophie Addison is my co-producer and co-writer. She's also in every show. And then we have Lachlan Hearn and Emma Evans, who are also in nearly every show.
And what was their background? How did they get into this? The same as you. How did you?
Yeah, so...
Well, you sort of said that at the beginning.
So Sophie is my creative partner. So we came up with the show together, and then we're friends with Lachlan and Emma, and we pitched the show to them to get more people on board, to give us a reason to have to do it. Because once you've got other people that are expecting you to do something, you have to do it.
It has to happen.
Yeah.
Have you filled in all the documentation that you need to?
I'm about 75% of the way through my registration now.
I know. It's hard, isn't it? Because there's so much to consider. But that's the other thing that really impresses me with the Fringe. There's so much information that it prompts you to actually come to terms with. What is the market? How much money do you want to spend? What's your budget? What are you planning to do? How many people do you want to come to see it? Yeah. It asks questions that all producers need to ask.
Absolutely. And you can do any size show. You can start small or you can go big. It's really anything that you want it to be.
My advice would probably be to somebody who's really interested in doing a Fringe show is all those things we talked about. But if you've got a really good idea and you think that people would like to see it, just have a go.
Just do it.
Yep, just do it, because you might not make money this year, it might even cost you. But if you do the right thing by the Fringe, and that is to let you know, yeah, I'm playing on these nights, I'd love a Fringe judge to come and have a look at the show. I might get a 5-star, I might get a 5-star review from the reviewers, but I might also win a Fringe award. And those things are going to be so valuable in the future, because it'll give you the chance to use that in your marketing for either next year or if you're going to tour the show.
Yeah, and the connections that you'll make just participating in Adelaide Fringe. There's no better place in South Australia to meet a bunch of artists, a bunch of producers, a bunch of venue managers.
Yeah, because of all the daytime stuff that's like in the what's it called? The
Fringe Works.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because of all the daytime things, and as well, just even at your venue, if there's more than your show on there, you're going to meet
meeting
people.
Other performers, yeah. And a lot of the venues have multiple shows, so the show time's going sort of weekends virtually all day. During the week, it's usually starting around 6 o'clock and going right through until quite late.
Yeah.
Aaron, it's been great talking with you, and good luck with this new position. It's an opening of your mind in more ways than one, I guess.
Thank you very much.
I'd be very interested to see the colour of your hair at the end of the Fringe.
There are some greys already.
Amazing. Well, folks, make sure that you do take part in the Adelaide Fringe, whether it's a performer or as an audience, because there's always great things to see and do. So until next time on OurTime, thanks, Aaron. Good luck. Keep yourself nice till next time and go see a Fringe show.